And the big question of, well, where is Diddy himself? With some speculating that he may have actually fled the country, according to flight tracker data showing his private jet flew from California to the Caribbean, according to People magazine. But then footage from TMZ apparently showed him walking around an airport in Miami in the afternoon, confirming that he wasn't on the flight to Antigua, with eyewitnesses telling the outlet that Diddy and some other people got stopped by the feds, who then seized his phones, according to NBC. Though TMZ adds that sources with direct knowledge said he's not under arrest at this point. And as of right now, it's all but certain that these raids are about the sexual trafficking and assault lawsuits filed against Combs in recent months, with, however, local cops arresting a 25-year-old man accused of being Diddy's drug mule on cocaine and marijuana possession charges, with NBC reporting that 3 women and a man had been interviewed by federal officials in Manhattan as of yesterday, and this before 3 other scheduled interviews as well, right, and all of it relating to allegations of sex trafficking, sexual assault, and the solicitation and distribution of illegal narcotics and firearms. But also, if you haven't kept up with this story, it's important to understand just how high the heights were that Diddy has fallen from. Right, he's a 3-time Grammy winner who built one of the biggest music empires in the last 3 decades, starting Bad Boy Records, a fashion line, a television channel, working with names including Notorious B.I.G., Mary J. Blige, Usher, Lil Kim, and Faith Evans. And even as recently as last year, he was still such a huge, highly regarded star, being honored at the MTV VMAs and seeing his last album get nominated for Best Progressive R&B Album at this year's Grammy Awards. But then everything went downhill in November, with Diddy's ex-girlfriend and R&B singer Cassie Ventura suing him for years of sexual abuse, including rape, alleging that he brought her into his, quote, ostentatious, fast-paced, and drug-fueled lifestyle soon after she met him and signed to his label in 2005 when she was 19 and he was 37, and saying then, after they began their on and off relationship in 2007, a pattern of abuse emerged, with Combs allegedly punching, kicking, and stomping her during fits of uncontrollable rage, as well as allegedly plying her with drugs and forcing her to have sex with other men while he masturbated and filmed them. And as she was trying to end the relationship in 2018, Diddy allegedly forced her into her home and raped her. And while that lawsuit was settled quick, literally the day after it was filed, a week later, 2 more women came forward with their own, with the first, Joy Dickerson, saying she was a 19-year-old college student in 1991 when she met Diddy, claiming he drugged her, brought her home, and sexually assaulted her, allegedly even videotaping the assault and later sharing it with several friends in the music industry. And she says that public exposure sent her into a tailspin, contributing to severe depression that landed her in the hospital and forced her to drop out of college. And then, as far as the other one, she claims that around the same time, Diddy and the R&B singer Aaron Hall assaulted her and her roommate in Hall's home, with Diddy allegedly showing up irate at their home days later to stop them from speaking out, and then choking the woman until she passed out. And then after that, a 4th woman came forward in December, claiming that 2 decades ago, when she was 17 years old, a music exec flew her to a recording studio in New York, where she was given drugs and alcohol and then gang raped by Diddy and 2 other men, with a lawsuit including photos of the woman sitting on Diddy's lap that she said were taken the night in question. And then after that, in February, Rodney Lil Rod Jones, Diddy's former producer and videographer, he alleged that in the last couple of years, Diddy sexually harassed, drugged, and threatened him, describing how he was the victim of constant unsolicited and unauthorized groping and touching of his anus, and saying that as Diddy's videographer, he was required to constantly record him. So as a result, he claims to have gathered hundreds of hours of video and audio of Diddy himself, his staff, and his guests engaging in serious illegal activity, including footage of Diddy providing laced alcoholic beverages to minors and sex workers at his home. Now, of course, with this, Diddy has passionately denied all these allegations. But with so many different people all coming out with all these different forms of evidence and now these raids on his homes, it's not looking good for him. But as we wait to see what all we learn from this, what all comes from this, I'm going to pass the question off to you. What are your thoughts here? And then, we just keep learning more and more about the horrific and twisted abuse from Ruby Franke. Right, we've talked about this case in the past. She was best known for her family channel, 8 Passengers. And earlier this year, she was sentenced to 4 to 30 years in prison for child abuse, as well as counselor Jody Hildebrandt. And while everything we knew about the case was already incredibly disturbing, the Washington County Attorney's Office just released documents painting an incredibly horrible picture, including journal entries Ruby kept, with those entries detailing the abuse that she carried out, which I can't even talk about in detail on this channel because YouTube will suppress the video. But the way she wrote about the motives and her thinking about it alone was just wild, with a release from the county on the case explaining religious extremism motivated Miss Franke and Miss Hildebrandt to inflict this horrific abuse. The women appear to fully believe that the abuse they inflicted was necessary to teach the children how to properly repent for imagined sins and to cast the evil spirits out of their bodies. Right, in multiple entries, Ruby repeatedly said her son was either a demon or was possessed by one, sometimes saying he wants to serve the devil. Also writing in one entry, I told R he emulates a snake. He slithers and sneaks around looking for opportunities when no one is watching, and there he scurries. If he wants to emulate the savior, he needs to be 100% obedient. And in another entry, she said it was a big day for evil as she accused her daughter of manipulating her and then detailing instances of abuse, later calling her children selfish liars who do not understand God's love for them. And it's worth noting, there are dozens of pages of these entries. Much of it's redacted, so this is really just a glimpse of what was going on. But from what we can actually see here, it is just disturbing beyond belief. And remember, we kind of touched on her motives back when she was sentenced, because at the time she said, "I believe dark was light and right was wrong. I would do anything in this world for you. I took from you all that was soft and safe and good." And as you can probably imagine, the impact that this has had on the kids is just massive, with the county's release also saying they, quote, came to believe that they deserved the abuse. But as for where things stand now, the Utah Board of Pardons and Parole, they're overseeing the sentencing for Jody and Ruby. And honestly, the details that keep coming out from this, it just makes me feel like the longer, the better. And then,
you know, it's sad to say, but I think too many of us took a foreign language in high school that we possibly were decent at until graduation. I mean, the truth is, the best way to learn another language is through immersion, right? Living where the language is spoken and practicing it daily. That's also easier said than done. Thing is, there's a second best way, and seriously, it's with Babbel. So muchas gracias, Babbel, for being a great partner of the PDS. You know, I'm hearing from people I know how different this is from when we were in school. And that's because Babbel focuses on teaching you modern conversations that you can use in the real world. And personally, I think it helps that they use native speakers, not computers, and I enjoy that sound when I get it right. So don't pay hundreds of dollars for a private tutor. Babbel's known for helping you learn a new language in as little as 3 weeks with quick 10-minute lessons designed by over 200 language experts. Hell, one study even found that using Babbel for 15 hours is equivalent to a semester at college. Here's a special limited time deal for you guys. Right now, get 55% off your Babbel subscription at babbel.com/DeFranco. Yeah, get 55% off at babbel.com/DeFranco, spelled BABBEL.com/DeFranco. Rules and restrictions may apply.
And then when people start talking about like, this is alpha behavior and this is beta behavior, it's hard for me not to just like sigh and roll my eyes. But I do find myself nodding in agreement when I've seen people saying there is nothing more beta than paying $18,000 for another grown man to berate you for not being alpha enough. Because that's what critics are saying about this 3-day course that's been dubbed the Alpha Male Boot Camp online. With a video popping up and going viral on X yesterday showing an instructor of the so-called modern day night project ripping these men to shreds.
More than 60% will not be here Friday, I guarantee it, and I'll make sure, because I see in your eyes that most of you don't belong here. And I'll be damned, I'll take this knife off my waist and carve this tattoo off my hand before I let any of you show up here on Friday for the graduation.
And believe it or not, the program bills itself as a 75-hour personal growth experience that helps, quote, men who want to live a life filled with fulfillment, purpose, financial freedom, and have a deep, loving relationship with their family. And adding that it'll be one of the toughest physical and mental challenges any participant will have ever experienced, costing $18,000 to join. But judging from the videos that we've seen, it looks more like just verbal and physical abuse than a self-help course. Right? In one, you see men crawling slowly up a hill, with one getting yanked back down by his ankles. In another, they do exercises while getting sprayed with water hoses and told how fat and disappointing they are.
If any of you get out of the water and ring the bell, I'm gonna personally whoop your ass on the sand.
Though honestly, the most disappointing thing about the men in these videos is that they paid money for this to happen to them. Like, guys, have a regular midlife crisis and decide you all of a sudden want to run a marathon, or you want to make hiking half your personality. Like, genuinely, what I saw on that video, it would make more sense to me if you told me, oh, this is because they have a kink. It sexually excites them to be degraded and humiliated. Like, the fact that you haven't struggled and you lack adversity to the point that you would pay a man $18,000 to do this. That is being publicly shared online and you're just being humiliated. It's just so weird and stupid. And again, I'd get it more if it was a kink. This is a special level of pathetic. And then Elon Musk just took a big ol' L. And it's all thanks to U.S. District Judge Charles Breyer, with Breyer issuing a decision yesterday to throw out X's lawsuit against a research group that documented an uptick in hate speech on the platform, and writing in his decision that the suit was unabashedly and vociferously about punishing the defendants for their speech, which isn't the best look for Elon Musk, who claims to be a champion of free speech. So the organization that Musk sued is called the Center for Countering Digital Hate, and they released a report last year showing that Twitter fails to act on 99% of racist, homophobic, neo-Nazi, anti-Semitic, and conspiracy content from the site's paid users. And this came less than a year after Musk took over the site, after which he eliminated positions responsible for monitoring hate speech on the platform, gave anyone, including previously banned accounts, the option to pay for a blue checkmark and have their posts boosted, and Musk himself shared an anti-Semitic post. And as you might remember, that basically led to major corporations like Walmart, Apple, and Disney to stop advertising on the platform. And that is when Musk decided to sue, with X arguing in its case that the Center for Countering Digital Hate collected data from the site without the company's permission, leading to millions of dollars in lost advertising revenue. Now with that, the center says that it was only accessing publicly available information, and in Bayer's decision, he essentially said that the point was moot anyways, writing, 1, it is just not true that the complaint is only about data collection, and adding, 2, that it is, quote, impossible to read the complaint and not conclude that X Corp is far more concerned about the center's speech than it is its data collection methods. And so, of course, with this, we've seen the center celebrating the decision online, writing in one post that Judge Breyer's dismissal sends a strong message to to those who aim at intimidating independent research. And on the other side, X saying in a statement that it disagrees with the court's decision and plans to appeal. I know Musk himself hasn't commented publicly as of recording this. It is pretty interesting to see how he's answered questions about the case in the past, reportedly responding to an email from